Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here with another Extravagant Few Minutes live on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page, and of course, 12 Ounce Sports and the 12 Ounce Sports YouTube channel, where we ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all of our latest and greatest content, all of our shows. And of course, that includes the Extravaganza with Captain Lou and Mitch. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. May the 26th, 2025. We mentioned Happy Memorial Day, everybody. We want to take a moment to thank everybody who is serving for our country currently and those that have served. And as importantly, if not more, those that gave the ultimate sacrifice to let guys like me get to do things like this. My passion, talking about sports. And I know that if it wasn't for you, ladies and gentlemen, that gave that sacrifice, then that served for our country, this wouldn't be possible. And for that, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your efforts do not go unrecognized, and I thank you. All right, let's get to what the sports at hand yesterday, if you will. Yesterday at Comerica Park, the Detroit Tigers took on the Cleveland Guardians in Game 4 of a weekend set. The Guardians took 3 from the Tigers, but Tariq Skubal, he was called upon, and he shut down the Guardians with what they call a Maddox. That's right, a complete game, 100 pitch or less performance, and he got it. A 2-hit shutout and set a major league record in the process. 13 strikeouts in that Maddox performance, if you will, and a 2-0 shutout for the Tigers over the Guardians, something that was much needed for the Tigers as their lead was shrunk down to 3 games. So with the victory and the Cleveland loss, obviously, and the Twins losing to Kansas City, the Tigers are now back up 4 games in the American League Central. So a big win for Detroit's ace. Boy, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Tigers when it comes to trying to sign up Skubal to a long-term deal. The suitors are going to be waiting at the door. This is going to be must-see TV to see if the Tigers are going to be able to sign what I think is a franchise player, a cornerstone for the franchise for years to come. If Detroit wants to stay a power in the American League, they're going to have to keep Skubal at all costs. And with Chris Ilitch, that's going to be a question nobody knows. And his reputation obviously doesn't supersede that, so we'll keep that in mind. It's going to be a fun watch. But right now, the Tigers are 4 games up in the American League Central with a big win yesterday, a 2-0 shutout with that masterful performance by Tariq Skubal. 13 strikeouts, first complete game of his career. A Maddox, if you will. Of course, what is a Maddox, you say? It is a complete game performance under 100 pitches, and Skubal got that in 94 pitches. All right, let's take a quick look. With Memorial Day, that's usually one of the standards, if you will, the quarter pole in Major League Baseball. Now, standings just about every day, but this is an important part because the measuring sticks are Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Labor Day, and then, of course, the end of the season. So with it being Memorial Day today, let's take a look at the standings again in the American League first. How about the Tigers? We mentioned 34-20. They're 4 games up on the Guardians and the Twins, 5 up on the Royals. So 4 teams in the American League Central over 500. That's those 2 teams. So 5 games separating first from 4th place. In the American League East, the New York Yankees at 32-20. They've got a big lead, 6 games over the Tampa Bay Rays, 6.5 over the Red Sox, and 7 over the Toronto Blue Jays. And how many of you on your bingo card had the Baltimore Orioles 14 games out at Memorial Day break? Unbelievable. They're probably the biggest disappointment in Major League Baseball. In the American League West, the Seattle Mariners, they're on top. How many of you had them leading the division? Well, their lead is shrinking, though. Here come those Houston Astros again. They're only a game and a half out. And the Texas Rangers, many the sexy pick maybe to win that division. They're 4 games out along with the Los Angeles Angels. In the National League, in the East, the best team in baseball, a half-game lead over the Tigers. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. They had their 9-game winning streak snapped yesterday, and so they are now 2 games up on the New York Mets. We're at 32-21. The Bravos, they're still under 500. They are 8.5 games back. In the Central, the Chicago Cubs, they're on top with a 2-game lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals, many thought this might be a rebuilding year, but they're playing great baseball. They're always there One franchise that seems like they're always in it, that's the St. Louis Cardinals. They're 2 games out behind the Cubs, and the Brewers are now 6.5 games back, as they are still a couple of games under 500. And in the National League West, the team that spends the most money by far in baseball, if not in any sport, that's the Los Angeles Dodgers. Their lead with a 2-game losing streak now just 1 game over the San Francisco Giants, 2 games over the Padres. That's going to be an entertaining division, it looks like, throughout the year here in Major League Baseball. But the Dodgers 32 up, 21 down. They've got a 1-game lead, as I mentioned, over the Giants and the San Diego Padres. All right, let's switch it to the ice. Yesterday in Stanley Cup playoff action, the Edmonton Oilers took a 2-1 lead in the matinee affair against the Dallas Stars, as they took a 2-0 lead after 1 period. It was cut to 2-1, but then with 19 seconds left, which seems to be one of the themes of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, teams getting a goal in the last 30 seconds. Connor McDavid worked his magic with 19 seconds left in the second period to make it 3-1 in favor of the Oilers. Then they got 3 goals in the third period, including a couple from Zach Hyman, who's probably one of the more underrated players in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. He got a couple of goals to make it 5-1. Then they got a power play goal to make it 6-1. That was the final score. Edmonton now with a 2-1 lead. Game 3 coming up tomorrow night in Edmonton. So the Oilers have a chance to put a stranglehold on the Western Conference Final. In the East tonight, Florida has a chance to sweep the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes, again, I can't remember the last time they won a conference final game, let alone, I know it's been since 2006, I believe, since they won a conference final. Well, they're obviously, their backs are up against the wall, trailing 3-0. The Florida Panthers can put them to bed here tonight as they go for the sweep in Sunrise against the Canes, 8 o'clock. That will take place with Game 4. In the NBA, well, yesterday, I talked a little bit about this earlier today on X or on Twitter. What is it with the new NBA? Teams can't hold a double-digit lead at home. Just when you thought Indiana might be putting a stranglehold on this one, I certainly thought they did. I spoke obviously too early. I'll be the first one to admit it, as the Indiana Pacers were up 20 in the second quarter. New York looked lost. They looked disinterested. They looked indifferent. They just, it was unbelievable. So I quit watching. All of a sudden, I woke up this morning or whatever, looked at my phone and saw that the Knicks came back, outscoring the Pacers 36-20 in the fourth quarter. Karl Anthony Towns finally showed up, or Thibodeau gave him some playing time. He had 20 points in the fourth quarter, and the New York Knicks are still alive. It's 2-1. I know it's a best of 7, but if they would have lost that game yesterday, it would have been Katie bar the door for sure. But the Knicks won 106-100, Game 3 of that Eastern Conference Final. Game 4 will be tomorrow night. We'll see how Indiana responds in this one. That's going to be a big matchup. Should the Knicks win this one and gain the momentum back, Game 5 in the Garden with it 2-2 is going to be insane. It probably will be loud anyways, but Indiana with a chance with Game 4 coming up tomorrow night. Tonight, it's Game 3. Oklahoma City and Minnesota. Minnesota throttled Oklahoma City in Game 3 the other night, 143-101 or something ridiculous like that. So Oklahoma City still a 2-1 lead in this series. We'll see what they can do in Game 4 coming up tonight. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with Today in Sports History and today's birthdays right here on An Extravagant Few Minutes on 12-Ounce Sports. Welcome back, everybody, to Extravagant Few Minutes live here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page and, of course, 12-Ounce Sports and 12-Ounce Sports on YouTube. All right, let's take an extravagant look at today in sports history. Back in 1997, the Detroit Red Wings, they completed a 4-2 victory over the Colorado Avalanche on their way to their first Stanley Cup championship since 1955. In 1988, the Edmonton Oilers took care of the Boston Bruins 6-3 to complete a 4-game sweep in that Stanley Cup final. In 1974, the first Sunday running of an Indianapolis 500, and Johnny Rutherford won it, his first of 3 Indy 500 championships. And in 1972, Smoke and Joe Frazier TKO'd Ron Stander in the 5th round to win the heavyweight title. Birthdays today. How about Brent Musburger? You are looking live. He turns 86 today. Darrell Evans, of course, with the Detroit Tigers and the Atlanta Braves, part of that Tigers 84 championship team. He is 78. Dan Pastorini, former quarterback for the Houston Oilers. He's 76. Dan Roundfield, Fire Up Chips, former Chippewa, Atlanta Hawk, Detroit Piston. He turned 72 today. Wes Walker, he turned 70. And Greg Lloyd, he's 60. And Kevin Kennedy, former manager, is 61. And also born on this date back in 1931, longtime Major League manager Jim Fry. All right, that's going to do it for another extravagant few minutes today in sports history and today's birthdays. Again, happy Memorial Day to everybody. I hope you enjoy it with your family and friends. And again, take a moment today to think about those that have served, those that are serving for us in the armed forces, and of course, those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. So again, folks like me can do the thing that I love to do, and that's talking sports with you. My passion, my love for doing this, and it wouldn't be possible for all of you if it weren't for all of you that served and gave that sacrifice and are still serving for us in our country. And I say thank you so much. All right, everybody, thanks for welcoming us into your homes on your iPhones, your computers, your laptops, however you're watching us around the world on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page and, of course, 12-ounce sports. Happy Monday, everybody. This reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long, everybody.